He's angry about mortgages. It's Angry Mortgage. He's swearing. He's cursing loud. He's old. He's opinionated. And he's been doing this so damn long. This program is about mortgages, and this is mortgage advice, but the advice may not apply to your situation. Contact licensed mortgage professionals for specific recommendations before you make decisions about mortgages. You may not agree with Ron, but if you don't, he thinks you're wrong. Oh, and did we say there is a lot of swearing?
Okay, we're back.
We're back.
We're back. And so we we did a little survey last week.
Yeah.
And we said, what do you think? Is the intro too long, too short? And there's a big landslide love the intro.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah, people love the intro.
About 15 to 1?
Yeah,
big
easily.
numbers. Okay,
Easily.
So,
yeah.
so the intro stays. If you don't like it, fuck you.
Yeah.
Okay. But now I also got shit that Jan is never properly introduced. So Jan, introduce yourself to the audience.
Hi, I'm Jan. Not giving my full legal name.
No doxing. Oh, you can dox me. I'm Ron Butler. Everybody knows who the fuck I am.
We're not
but
gonna
we-
dox
we
me,
don't
no.
want the fucking doxing.
I'm so
okay?
low key on social media anyway, so it's fine. Jan with an A, not Jen.
Yep.
Jan.
Jan.
Um,
And 2 N's.
2 N's.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
Legally.
All right. Are you satisfied, all you people out there? Okay, we did it, and we'll keep doing it. That's
Yeah.
fine. Okay. All right. So we got a big show today. Going to be dominated by a really incredible story. And but maybe not interesting to everybody, but interesting to anybody in the mortgage business. I think it's going to be interesting to some people in the real estate business. It was something that we really haven't seen in Ontario for a long time, and I'm gonna give some props to the regulator of mortgage brokers in Ontario, which is FSRA. That I'm seeing more and more evidence that FSRA is serious about fraud in the mortgage business. They're serious about mortgage brokerages doing the right thing, and I also think they're smart and they're careful. Of course, everybody starts to say, oh, yeah, he's kissing up to the regulator. Son of a bitch. Kissing up to the regulator. Okay.
No.
Well,
They're there for a reason.
Look, I mean, do I wish there was less paperwork?
Sure.
Absolutely. Do I wish there was less regulation? Sure, because it would make my life easier. So do I think that some of the stuff is, could the regulator have maybe fought the crazy AML stuff that we're going to be faced with through FINTRAC in the next come October? Maybe. It's a federal thing though. It's not really their thing. So look, I can be critical of the regulator, but I existed for many years, under a pure shit regulator. Okay. And who in the end was so bad that they got shut down.
Wow.
And FSRA came in. Okay. Well, they transitioned. There was not like there was no regulator for a while. There always was a regulator. But the old regulator, some of one particular boss there, horrible. Nest of snakes. Okay. Like they literally let this fortress development fraud run rampant. No matter how. Sometimes I personally gave them warnings about it. Pushed the guy who's in charge into a corner and said, hey, like literally at a meeting, like, hey, do you know this is going on? Like, you should know this is going on. Made up all kinds of bullshit excuses. So they got rid of them. They cleaned house. Provincial government, to their credit, cleaned house, brought in a new group. And overall, because I have interaction with these people, my position is that they're a much smarter, much more serious regulator. But let's jump into the meat of this thing. Okay, so something that hasn't hardly ever happened in Ontario happened last week. So a mortgage brokerage and the principal broker of the mortgage brokerage of a long time, large, not just some little tiny private mortgage shop, okay? Just not like some little rinky-dink, 6-agent brokerage, okay? But actually, this brokerage is maybe in the top 2 or 3 for numbers of agents and brokers in Canada.
Fuck.
Over 300 Mortgage Brokers and Agents
Oh, that's
Associated with the
bad.
firm. It's big.
Yeah.
It's big for people. It's big volume. Over 2023, over $2 billion in mortgages funded, originated through that brokerage. It's Forest City Funding out of London. Principal broker's name is Bill Handsome. It's kind of a, I hope I'm pronouncing it right. I've met
I thought
Bill.
it was handsome.
I met Bill.
Eh.
Handsome.
Eh.
Anyway, I met Bill a couple times, but I just called him Bill. So I didn't, I didn't study.
get
I
the-
didn't
yeah.
study the pronunciation of his last name. I've heard it pronounced Hansame. I've heard it pronounced Hansame. So we'll leave it at that. This is a long time, over 3 decades. It's an old guy like me. Like he's old. I think he's even older than me. Like how the fuck's that possible, right? Like how fucking old can you be and to be a principal broker? Okay, like sweet Jesus. I mean, like there should be should there be a mandatory retirement? I don't know. But anyway, he's an old guy. He's probably up there. Been doing it for, like I say, over 3 decades. So I'm going to get into all the details, and some people in the audience are going to find it boring, and well, who gives a fuck? Okay, but if you're
It's
in the mortgage
important,
business,
though. It's very important.
it's very important if you're in the mortgage business, if you're in the real estate business, to understand the nature of fraud and why it's wrong and why and how it goes wrong. And I'm gonna break it down. So it started as a audit because FSRA, the regulator, is doing a ton of audits. They're auditing now. They're smart people, like I told you. They use a risk-based model, and they say quite reasonably that the biggest brokerages produce the greatest risk.
Of
like
course.
the most agents produce the most risk, because let's face it, if you have 2,000 agents, and some brokerages do, they have 2,000 agents. They have teams and teams of management to look after it.
Yeah.
But if you got 2,000 agents,
Things are going to slip through the crack. People are.
or they could.
Yeah, they
there's just
could,
more
yeah.
odds, right?
Of course.
You got 6 agents, there's only so much can go wrong, and you got 2,000 agents, there's a lot more can go wrong. So,
Yeah.
So they have been doing these audits. I'm familiar with it. I've talked to the brokerage owners who are involved. I've talked to the principal brokers who are involved, the people, to the presidents of those companies, and yeah, they're doing a thorough investigation. Okay, what's an audit about? Well, basically, they pull files. So every mortgage broker is required by the Act, okay, to maintain files for, in some cases, much longer than 6 years. Like in case, if there's a renewal date, sometimes you have to go, like if it's renewed, you can actually have to hold on to a file for 15, 20 years, okay?
Wow.
So it's very, very, very important to maintain these files, okay? And there's a lot of paperwork that must be maintained. You have to maintain the lender's commitment, amortizations. You should have the full underwriting package, income. All the down payment has to be illustrated. You have to have the disclosure statements. You have to have, you have to maintain every part of the file has to be maintained in a permanent record.
Right.
Okay? And most of it's, let's face it, most of it's digital today, but it is the law. You have to do it. Okay? So what they do, the way they audit a mortgage brokerage is they just look at files. That's it. They just they say, hey, send us these. We're going to randomly, we need to look at 10, 12, 20, 15, whatever it is, 30, 40, 50, 100, it's a big brokerage. We need to look at, they focus on private mortgages first, which is sensible.
Right.
Because the public is
Highest risk.
Most vulnerable to the public, 100% right, highest risk. And they say, well, send us 50 private files, or 20, or 10, whatever, and send us 50 bank files, like banks, other lenders. So we're gonna, we want to see the digital record, and we want to see the the PDF copies of everything. So, and then they just start looking at them, and they have hired, to their credit, FSRA's hired some smart cookies, some people who were like under the old regulator. They were basically, there was hardly anybody who'd actually worked in the mortgage industry or banking. Okay.
Oh.
Well, it's I know. Yeah.
Questionable times run.
Like our brokerage has been audited, has been reviewed, but
Yeah.
it was a long time ago. It was like 10, 12 years ago. And it was these people, it was obvious that these people, although they were experienced in their jobs, were not experienced in the mortgage industry. Okay. They just knew, pull this, look at that. Here's a file, here's a document, compare. But they weren't. Now, today, FSRA's hired auditors who have a strong familiarity with mortgage underwriting.
Which makes sense.
Which makes a lot of sense. Okay. So, and this has been going on for 2 years. Now, I want to say another thing. So when I published all this, we put it up on LinkedIn, we put it up on Twitter, we put it up. Didn't one of your friends say something on LinkedIn?
Yeah, my friend messaged me and she's like, "Why is your boss fighting people on LinkedIn?" And I'm like, "Huh? What's going on?" And I pulled up the post and I'm like, "Oh, okay. A lot of people were coming for you on the LinkedIn post about Bill, and I guess they all worked for him."
Yeah, strangely, all of them were getting their commissions from him. The people who were angry at me, and there was a lot of supporting comments too.
Yeah.
And there was the CEO, the big boss of one of the biggest mortgage network in Canada, called my post irresponsible.
Oh.
Okay, which and let me say two things about that. So there's a feeling in the mortgage industry that if you're in the mortgage industry, never say anything bad about the mortgage industry. So if something goes wrong, shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
Okay, like just say nothing.
No.
And there's a group of people who say no, talk about it. Talk about it. The sunshine cleanses everything. Bring the light in, show the light on everything. Okay, and that's the right approach. And sort of, I actually have a third aspect to this. I don't give a fuck what people think. Okay,
you're gonna do whatever you want to do on your LinkedIn.
Yeah, look, I mean, it's just the way I've lived my life. Like I lived my life just saying whatever the fuck came into my head that I thought was true. And
Also, I mean, like, it's out there. It's not like you were the one who posted it for the first time, right? Fizzra is the one who posted all of the detailed report. So, I mean, really, didn't you just summarize what they said?
In essence, yes. And by the way, that's an incredibly important point you just made. Okay, there's a reason Fizzra publishes this stuff
for awareness.
They want the public to know.
They're not here to fuck around.
They could kept it like a secret. They could keep it internal. They could do whatever the hell they wanted to. Okay, they choose not to. They choose to publish their findings, and then people have a chance to appeal. Okay, so. What's the nitty gritty of this stuff? Hold on, let me finish with the comments first. Okay, so look, I am not opposed to loyalty. If somebody's signing your commission checks, and you've known them for years, like these agents, brokers no bill, you can be loyal.
They're entitled to their opinion. It's 100%. Fine.
If you're Bill's longtime associate in Dominion Lending with Forest City Funding is a Dominion Lending franchise, you're 100% valid for you to be loyal to Bill. Okay, he's your longtime associate, friend. You've spent a lot of time with him. It's absolutely good. And by the way, let me say this really, really. When I'm talking about this, Bill's not it's not been charged with a crime. Okay, like there's no cops involved here. Okay, like it's not like he's running around hurting and robbing or anything like that. Bill would never do that.
You can't judge people based off their mistakes.
Yeah,
it doesn't.
And like but so loyalty's fine. Like, however, the people who are screaming at me saying, wait till they come to your place and audit. Yeah, let them come. Come on, let them come. Okay, like
we'll roll out the red carpet for Fizzra.
Exactly, we'll roll out the red carpet. I am fine with any audit that comes about their mortgage. It's absolutely fine. I am. And to say, well, it's irresponsible, nothing's been proven yet. Well, slow down. We got to slow this down, okay? It's easy to make mistakes. There's a difference between criminal activity, which the police investigate and the Crown charges, and regulatory misconduct, okay? So regulatory misconduct is the results of long audits, careful audits, correspondence back and forth between the people, like the reviewers and the auditors say, hey, what's with this? What's with that? The person in question answers those questions and gives more information and gives more clarification, and there's more questions. That's a 2-year process.
It's not empty accusations, not like innocent till proven guilty type of thing.
Well, and in theory, there's an appeal. Okay,
right.
So there's an appeal, and people have the right to appeal. But like, I've really got to point this out. It's important. Like, when the cops investigate a car accident, they something's happened, and they've got to try to recreate it. This is not that. This is auditors reviewing files you have given them. Okay, so there's no doubt about where they came from. It's not like an accident. We got to try to figure out who hit who.
Yeah.
Okay, they're from you, and then you're answering the questions about them. They ask you questions, you answer them. Okay, it's all a long, detailed and reviewed. And hey, what happened here? Explain it. Okay, it's not. A cop's looking at a car accident. Okay, it's meticulous items on this thing. So that's where it's different. And sure, there is an appeal. And I guess there's a theory that somehow the regulator got it wrong.
There's a chance.
There's a chance. Okay,
But there was a lot of red flags.
it would be hard to spend 2 years looking at files and interacting with the person involved and have it all wrong. Okay, like you gave us the documents, but
We read it wrong. Oopsie daisy.
they magically changed. I mean, like, you're saying they aren't what we're looking at here, even though you gave them to us. Okay, so look, like all I'm saying is, this is not like that. People are entitled to due process. That's the beauty of a democracy. But my belief is that, and by the way, I've told you about there's much bigger brokerages had these audits.
Yeah.
2,000 agents. Okay. There's been no findings like this published. Okay. There's no principal broker facing a year's suspension at those organizations.
Yikes. Yeah.
There's no principal broker going to be forbidden from being a principal broker for 3 years after their 1 year full suspension. Like, can't look at mortgages for a year, and then you could never sign a disclosure document again, and 100,000 of corporate fines and 10,000 of personal fines. Okay. These audits have happened. There's nobody. Sure, there's like, you should change this. You should have a better procedure here. You need to tighten up over there. I'm not pretending that nothing happens, but there's nothing like a published finding on these other audits. That's not happened. Like I said, I can't remember when this has happened. Okay, except when I've hardly ever read this in my life. I've seen it. Okay, so just to break it down for the folks, it's really one main thing. It's a series of files. And they ran both a MIC, which is a mortgage investment corporation, and they ran a mortgage brokerage. So they had a mortgage administrator's license. So if you're a mortgage administrator, you are responsible for the correct operation of the MIC and all the correct paperwork. So let's break it down. The key files that just knocked their eyes out at FSRA is that there were private mortgages produced through the MIC, which is under the command of Bill, and through the brokerage and linked to the brokerage, which is under the command of Bill. Okay. And these second mortgages were clearly to the first mortgage lender. They were all second mortgages. So the first mortgage is typically with a bank, major lender. Second mortgage is like with a MIC or private person. These second mortgages were clearly against the rules of the first mortgage. And I read the finding, and it said Bill agreed that all of the first mortgages forbid second mortgages to be placed. Yeah. I just read it. I just read it again this morning. Yeah, that he agreed. Yes, they all said, Mr. Hansen agreed that, yes, they all were forbidden to be a second mortgage.
Wow.
Now, then it gets wilder. Like, the second mortgages were all disguised to be gifts, and false documents were created to make these second mortgages look like gifts because you can't have them, right? The first mortgage doesn't allow it, and there's
So now
he
why would you do that to make it work?
Yes, exactly. So fake documents. So people say, why would you disguise it? I mean, it's just, here's why you disguise it, because first of all, the first mortgage forbids it.
Right.
There can be no second mortgage. And second of all, you might want to hide the payment on that second mortgage because it would throw out all your debt ratios and make them, and you couldn't do the first mortgage. So by the way, I've heard about this thing that we're just discussing here for 25 years. There was another famous incident years ago where a big broker was doing this and got caught. Okay, so it's a known thing for a long time.
Wow.
Now, in some ways, it's crazy, because you are creating extra payment stress for the borrower. that may not work out in your favor. And, the MIC, who's issuing the second mortgages, has a exposure to that, right? Like that. Now, mind you, we don't know all the details. It could have other co-signers on that second mortgage, cross-collateralizing other properties. We don't know how that works.
Right.
Now, here's possibly the wildest thing, okay, I found. On the disclosure statements, you must give full disclosure of interest rates. You must give full disclosure of fees and costs.
Right.
That's probably the most critical thing of mortgage brokerage is proper disclosure, okay? They pretended that the lender fees, the fees out of the Mortgage Investment Corporation, were insurance premiums like CMHC.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, there was even PST charged on the, and the provincial government never got the PST money. And this organization, the Solidity, the MIC, is not a CMHC issuer, period. There's no private lender doesn't exist. Okay.
So he was running both.
Yes.
And just bullshitting one to the other to get people their seconds.
Look, here's the thing. I don't, it did, the finding did discuss his personal involvement and his personal admissions in some of the stuff. But I'm not going to say, there were clearly other agents involved. There were other people involved. But this stuff is wild because, here's what happens. You plug in something that is really a lender fee that you are pretending is a CMHC insurance premium and then charging PST on that, okay? When it absolutely is not. It is some complete lie, okay? And the rate you're showing the client, the APR that you're showing the client, is 5.28. And then you're pretending this is an insurance premium that's being deducted from the total. But since that's a lie, then the actual APR, the interest rate, is 15.25.
Holy shit.
So, they showed it in a table. They did a great finding on this, okay? So, that's fucked up, okay?
Yeah.
I'm not, anyway.
That's really fucked up.
That's fucked up. So, so let me finish by saying this. I do not believe this man is a bad human. I'm sure people like him. I'm sure he's good family. He's a good person. But I read it. I'm very knowledgeable within the industry. It was extremely detailed, even though all the people who were attacking my post were saying, "No, you're wrong. You don't get it. This will all come out." Okay, maybe, but it would be amazing. Again, this is not like the cops investigating an incident. This
incident has happened.
This is 2 years of review of documents, back and forth with emails. Hey, what happened here? Could you explain this? It's not recreating an accident.
No, they're just following the paper trail.
And the paper trail is obvious. The comments in response are on the record. Okay. I'm not saying, look, I'm sure he's going to appeal. Yeah. And a person is entitled to the appeal. And the appeal could last a long time. And I have no problem with that. And you know what? Let me say this openly. If the entire case falls apart, the entire finding is reversed on appeal, I will be the first person to apologize. I will publicly apologize, okay? But in essence, I'm just repeating what I'm reading.
Yeah.
That's the essence of what I'm doing.
Okay?
Yeah. So, yeah, again, haven't seen this. And now, I'll address this a little later on, but this should not happen. Let's just get clear. This stuff should not happen. No. Borrowers are exposed. Lenders are exposed. Like the lender, if I was a first mortgage lender, I would be fucking furious. I'd be wildly angry if this happened. Because you're being completely lied to and manipulated. Okay. So that's the story. And
you made poor choices.
Again, there's an appeal process. Okay. But I have reread this and read this and thought about it and analyzed it, and I am not unfamiliar with this stuff. Okay? I am deeply familiar with it, and I think the finding speaks to itself. So. Yeah. All right. So what's going on with rates these days? Okay, we had a long talk about that mortgage fraud, so let's talk about rates. Okay, so a bit of a mixed bag. In the U.S., they had a lousy jobs report. So, their economy's been booming and booming. I'm not saying it's not still booming. It is still booming. Okay. But it was kind of not as robust as the previous reports. And bond yields fell. They fell in the States. They fell here. Bond yields mean lower rates, but they didn't quite fall enough to really trigger massive drops. And then boom, today, last week, again, I have to remember when I'm recording this, but essentially last week, at the end of the week, Canadian jobs reports came out, and they were pretty damn good. Well, that's a lie. They were okay. The unemployment rate is the same as it was. Expected it to go up, but it didn't. There was some job creation, vast majority of it part-time.
Yeah.
Which doesn't really help anybody. It's just more people working at gigs. Okay?
Yeah, basically.
But let me just say, sometimes I think this jobs report in Canada is a bunch of guys with a big sheet of paper with numbers on it and darts. I think it's just, the guys over at the Loonie Hour, we have a great podcast called the Loonie Hour. Those guys are smart, and they call this the random number generator.
Yeah.
Okay. The jobs report in Canada. Look, if everything that I keep seeing week in and week out keeps telling me that the Canadian economy is not doing great.
It's plummeting.
Maybe not plummeting, but not good. Okay.
It's on the way.
We just see a lot of reports to that effect. And
how accurate are these reports?
Well, I think when a company announces layoffs, they're laying them off, right? That's reality. Here's what I'm really starting to focus on, though. I'm old, right? So I've been listening to people say, "Why do you keep saying you're old?" Because fuck me, I am.
At least you embrace it.
You got to embrace it. You got to embrace everything about yourself, okay? Because hey, haters gonna hate, but but you gotta just roll with who you really are. So because I get a lot of pushback on rates, when I talk about sometime this year the Bank of Canada is going to cut.
Yeah.
There's always a string of comments like, "Fuck, you're wrong. So fucking stupid. It's gonna go up. Rates gonna go up. You don't know anything about this. Canadian dollar. Blah 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 blah." Okay, so now I've started my bet.
Yeah.
You've seen the bet, right?
Yeah.
I've seen the bet. So I've started my bet. I've said to all these people who say, rates are going to go up. There's no cuts this year. Blah, blah, blah. You don't know what you're talking about. So I have a standing bet. A real bet, though, like for reals.
Yeah.
Okay. 10 grand cash. There will be a rate cut this year. So if you don't think there is, put your money where your mouth is, folks.
Period.
Okay? And it's 10 grand. It's not a dinner.
Yeah.
It's not a this. It's not a bottle. It's not a drink. Okay. I'm fucking serious about this. All right. I am serious. I put my fucking money where my mouth is. You want to bet me? It's a simple bet. There will be a Bank of Canada cut in 2024 by the end of the year. It'll be announced. It'll be there. Okay. That's the bet. Now, if you're dead sure, 100% sure there's not going to be. By the way, a lot of people try to change the bet. Like,
okay, yeah.
Okay, yeah. No, I don't think that. I think there's going to be no cuts, but I need 4-1 odds. No, fuck yourself.
Yeah.
Okay, it's a straight up bet. Okay.
Yeah.
So you send me your personal information. We'll arrange with a third party. You put your 10 grand in because I'm not interested in any Welchers. Okay. I don't want anybody who's going to weasel out on the bet. So I'm going to put 10 grand with a third party. You put 10 grand with a third party. It's a simple piece of paper. The bet's very simple. We'll both sign. Third party is trusted by both. And if there's a cut, I'll just get my money.
Let's see who's willing to put their money where their mouth is.
And so far, out
Not
of
a single person.
300 comments,
not a single person has hit us up and said, "Hey, here's my money."
No, it's social media, so none of us should get excited. People say a lot of shit in social media.
Of course.
Yeah, I know what's going on. Yeah, you're like Aardvark with
banana sunglasses profile picture.
And your name is like Anchor Dribbler. Okay, come on, you're not real. But or you're somebody, but who knows who you are?
Someone in their mom's basement, just trying to bully online, like most trolls.
Look, it's fine, but mind you, people can have opinions. Absolutely, okay. But if you obviously, if I am clearly willing to take the bet, you should have conviction in your beliefs, right?
Yeah.
And then finally, a lot of people say, well, Ron, there's something fucking wrong with you. You always said for years, and we can go back in the history of your posts, you've said prediction is a crap business.
Because it is.
It is, okay? But when something is fucking obvious, okay? When something is, and here, let me get back to the obvious part. So in the last almost 6 weeks, Tiff Macklin, the bank, we're not going to do the puppet until we get closer to the announcement date. Then we're going to do a lot of puppet.
You have to do the voice.
We're going to do the voice. I'm saving it all up. I'm saving the voice up. I'm saving the Muppet up. I'm saving everything up till we get close to the June announcement. And then we're going to do lots of Tiff.
Yeah.
Okay, we're going to do a lot of Tiff. But right now, I'm going to be respectful towards Tiff. No voices, no accents, no fun, no abuse, no puppet, Muppet, whatever you want to call it. We're going to be just half-assed professional. Okay. But when we get closer to the announcement, things are going to go crazy. Okay. But anyway, so if you read and listen to what Tiff says in public, Mr. Governor Macklin, let's call him. Let's be very respectful. Governor Macklin. Okay. His language has changed. You know, he's sort of moved past the old, you know, we'll see, or we have to watch carefully, or he started to use different language. He started to say, it's not time to cut yet.
But things are in the right direction.
No, sometimes not. But the most key word is yet. Cut yet. Not time to cut yet. So obviously...
Meaning it's coming.
And meaning there's no fucking hikes.
Yeah.
Okay. And by the way, they asked Jerome Powell, the Fed chairman in the U.S., like 2 weeks ago, oh, is there going to be a hike? We don't see any hikes. That's what he said. There's no. I don't see a hike at all. So the bottom line is no, there's no hikes. And when you say yet, conditions are not quite there yet. Yet will eventually be a new word will come in sometime that is like the conditions for a cut may be soon. So yet becomes soon, and then finally there's a cut.
Yeah.
Okay. Like, folks, I've been around. This is like my 7th Bank of Canada governor. Okay. Like, I've listened to this shit for a long time. Okay. Like, it, you know, people say, well, no, he lied before. He said rates would be low for long. Yeah. When they're telling positive shit, when it's something that they're just wrong on, yeah, it's going to be bad. Okay. But he's actually in charge of this rate stuff. Okay.
Yeah.
Like, he gets to decide. Okay.
He makes that choice.
That's his choice. So if he's starting to set the stage, let's just believe him. Okay. Let's just believe him. It's coming. All right. All right. We got the viewer mail. We got audience mail. What's going on with questions?
This one says, I'm interested in power of sale listings in MLS. Is there a list of these I can find? Also, what do you think of them? They should be a good deal, but what's to watch out for?
Okay, the answer is there's no for the general public. For the general public, you're not going to be able to easily find. You have to search. Okay, now there's a lot of real estate agents who they publish this. They do the searching for you, and they publish a list of power of sale homes in the GTA or like on the TREB system or in whatever real estate board you work with. And they promote it. They advertise based on it. There's real estate agents who advertise based on power of sales. Okay, so can I find a list? No, but can a real estate agent, if you get a little diligent on Google and you look at real estate agents, you know, just Google real estate agent, TREB real estate agent showing power sales. Who knows? Should come up. Okay. So are they a good deal? They could be.
I feel like they're a hit or miss. Kind of like a car auction, you know?
Not wrong. Okay.
You don't know what you got.
Yeah, there's no inspection. There's no house inspection.
Kind of like an as-is vehicle.
Well, you damn right. When you see that offer contract, when you sign the offer, it's as is where is.
Yeah, like, you pounce and then you get what you get.
If it turns out there was there's asbestos.
Yeah.
It turns out there's
roach infestation.
It turns out it used to be a meth lab. Normally they have to report that. The agent has to do that research. But if it turns out like there's no inspection.
Yeah.
Okay, you're taking it as is. Okay. And there's obviously no previous owner to talk to. They've been evicted. Okay. So yes, your analogy of the car auction is very good. Okay. You just got to put in a fucking bid, baby. You know, you get to look at it, you know, walk up to it, look at the car. hope for the best. Okay.
Yeah, and hopefully you have a little comfy side pocket because you don't know what you're gonna have to invest into it, right?
You don't know. So, but in theory, it's possible it could be a good deal. Yeah, I'm not gonna fight that. It's possible. You have to be aware of what you're doing. You have to be aware that it is as is, where is. I mean, you have to be aware that no one's going to help you. You know, like, well, can you tell me a little bit about this? No, there's no such thing. Okay.
Take it or leave it.
And, and here's the thing. It's got to be offered in MLS. So it's unlikely that it's going to be the deal of the century. Like nobody is saying, hey, come in, here's a secret offer. The law of power sales has got to be offered in MLS. So, it probably is close to market price.
Okay, this one says, my husband and I had a bunch of financial setbacks through no fault of our own. We do own a home, but not much value in it. There are 2 mortgages. Should we consider consumer proposal or bankruptcy?
Good question. So, because the way that consumer proposal or bankruptcy works is that it's designed around unsecured debts. So, basically, secured debt, the trustee has to decide whether there is enough value, whether there is enough equity in the home, and they usually base that on some appraisals. But look, if there's very little value in the home, the trustee looks at it and says, okay, house is worth X, mortgages equal Y. If we have to pay commissions, legal fees, we have to pay all these extra costs to sell, what's left? Hardly anything.
Yeah.
What's the point? Okay. Because the trustee has a responsibility to distribute to the creditors. Okay. But if there's very little in some cases, you look at a house and say, well, based on when you bought it, there's going to be no equity if you sell it. I mean, the price, the value's come down. Okay. So yes, it is an option. I want to say one quick thing about consumer proposal or bankruptcy, because I know this is the way people think, particularly people who don't own a home. My friend is, I have friends in the bankruptcy world, great guys, Hoyes Miklas, Doug Hoyes, Scott Theriault. They're terrific trustees, fantastic. Biggest in Ontario, for a reason. They're good guys. And Doug's got out a big documentary on debt that he's just promoting right now. I'll be posting that on Twitter and stuff on the weekend. But it's you're not going to be able to buy a house the minute you come out of bankruptcy. Okay, you're not going to be able to buy a house the minute you get out of consumer proposal. But really, becoming better financial managers should be your goal, as opposed to buying a house.
Financial literacy is so key.
And God knows if you've gone through consumer proposal or bankruptcy, you've had a lot of experience of what can go wrong.
Of course.
And some of it is not your fault.
Yeah.
Absolutely, some of it is not your fault, by the way. Let me make that clear. Some people go through illness, loss of a job. Like it's not always people are not.
It's not always people just maxing out their credit card for funsies.
Yeah,
it's
mind you, that's a few.
It happens. It does happen. But
you also got to ask, because Scott Theriault publishes this stuff all the time. Scott Theriault will publish. Can you explain to me how a bank gave a guy who makes $55,000 a year $180,000 worth of credit card and personal line of credit debt? Like, how did that happen? Like, how did that ever fucking happen? Okay.
Well, that's a story for another day. But let's just say,
you could just story for another day. We'll maybe we'll have Scott over. He's a great guy.
Let's just say you look at the bank and they'll be like, "Here's more credit." So,
by the way, that is not bullshit. That can happen. Okay, so on the housing front, we have continued worries about radically reduced housing starts and condo tower starts for people to buy. Okay, the government's program of pursuing purpose-built rentals is working. There are growth in purpose-built rentals in Ontario. But folks, I'm just going to put it out there. Housing starts for people to buy, particularly low-rise, detached townhomes, semis, they are in an abysmal state. Like they are, we're going to, by the time this year is over, we're going to discover that this is one of the worst housing starts years in a long, long time. And yet, federal government, municipal governments, provincial government keeps saying, yeah, we're going to build 1.5 million homes in the next, hey folks, I don't have the Muppet here, but I mean yeah folks, we're working hard. I'm getting up in the morning and anyway, I won't abuse Rob Ford today.
Doug,
I keep mixing up my Ford because I was really a super interested guy when it was Crackmare.
Yeah.
By the way, he was actually a good guy.
I met him.
he was a
He's
good,
nice. He's
good
really
human.
sweet.
He's a great human,
Yeah.
sweet human. So his demons got him, but
Yeah.
but I have that so focused on my. Let's just call him Premier Ford.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to ridicule Premier Ford today. That may be another day.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, but the idea that we're going to build all these homes for people to buy over the next 6 to 10 years is off to one fucking awful start this year. Like it's going to be brutal. Okay,
That's
so
also a bit too long considering the amount of people we have here. We can't wait that long. Like, what's gonna happen if this trend continues and we keep going downwards? Then what? Like, everyone's just gonna have to end up renting, and then that's just gonna the homes or apartments that they're building to rent is just gonna go up again because then there's no homes to buy, and it's just like a shitty cycle. Like, what do we do at this point?
listen, thank you, because that is so fucking true. The word trend is so fucking important. Okay, like if this is going to be a terrible year in starts, followed by another bad year in starts, that is a hellacious trend. And trend is not your friend when it's going the other way. It's really fucked up. So yes, that is an absolutely accurate commentary on bad year this year, bad year next year. How do you get out of the hole? To your point, how do you get out of that hole? Okay. Well, it's come to the our absolute favorite part of the program.
What the actual fuck?
Yeah, like what the actual fuck is the reasoning and horrible purpose behind all this mortgage fraud? So there's two things that always come up when I get on the topic of mortgage fraud, because if you haven't heard it before, because God knows we've run it enough. Okay, enough. I mean, I'm almost on this. I testified at the twice at a parliamentary fucking commission about mortgage fraud, for fuck's sakes. Okay, honored to do so, but I am a crusader on this fucking shit. Okay, and the reason, so yeah, you just like, you want to get everybody to think that you're on their side, but maybe you're just the same as all of them. Well, for everybody who says that, fuck yourselves. Okay, like absolutely fuck yourselves. Like, why would I spend all my time talking about it if I secretly was wanting it? Okay, like please all fuck it. Oh no, but it's maybe not you, but almost all of you are the same. Fuck off. Okay,
Yeah.
mortgage brokers are not all the same. They are fucking not all the same. Okay.
There's good people, there's bad people.
Oh, by the way, one of the only things, there's only one positive thing I can say about this incident for this brokerage for city funding in London, Ontario. It's London, Ontario. It's not fucking Brampton. It's not fucking Surrey. And everybody who wants to endlessly pick on those two communities as the hotbed of mortgage fraud. Well, Bill is about as, he might be as white as me. So I'm almost clear, right? I'm almost fucking clear. So for everybody who wants to pick on the communities and say, no, it's all you guys who are doing it, fuck you.
Yeah.
Okay? It is not. It is everybody. I could go on for an hour about all the communities involved, but yes, mortgage fraud. So why I get so fucking irritated about this whole thing is, first of all, it's dangerous. People say, well, no, nobody ever gets arrested, Ron. I mean, the police don't get involved. Yeah, because it's so hard to prove the losses.
Yeah.
Okay? Like when you look at this thing that went on, even this whole huge finding by FSRA, nobody said anybody lost a nickel. Just that the banks were fooled. Everybody was fooled. The mortgage insurance premium was bullshit. It's a lender fee. I mean, like, bunch of falsehoods, but nobody's lost any money so far. Okay?
Yeah. But nobody's focused on how much this affects the borrower. Like,
absolutely.
You don't see that, how everyone's day-to-day can be affected by something like this.
So fucking true. I mean, you're ending up with two payments instead of the one, and on and on. And if for all the for all the income document fraud that goes on, I mean, you're just sort of hoping and praying that the fucking you can find the money to pay that payment because your documents don't show that income. All right, but look, let's break this shit down. All the people who say, well, it's just epidemic, it's always going on. No, it's not fucking epidemic, okay? Like, I'm working at a mortgage brokerage where none of it goes on. Fuck, sometimes we catch it and cancel the deal. Sometimes the lender catches it and says, hey, this doesn't look right. We've done a lot of research. It was a pretty good, sharp-looking job letter. Everything's perfect here, but it doesn't look right. And they cancel the deals. We agree to cancel the deals. We tell the client to piss up a rope. And and I know lots of other brokerages like us.
Yeah.
Lots. Okay.
Yeah.
So for everybody out there who says you're all the same, fuck you. It's not true. Okay.
Yeah.
So that is not an epidemic within the industry. Is there too much of it? Yes, obviously. Okay. This is what we're talking about this program. So, and then people say, why does anybody get arrested? Again, there's no financial losses.
Yeah.
In almost every case, there's no financial losses. But to your point, Jan, someday there could be.
Yeah.
Like if there's enough unemployment in this country, all this fake income could come home to roost and people lose their homes and power sales. Okay. And finally, which is really the most important fucking thing, it's a fairness issue.
It's unfair to people who have crossed their T's and dotted their I's, and it's so difficult for them to get a mortgage, but they've done everything right because it's so strict because of how many people are fucking doing fraud. Like, it's not fair.
Yes.
Life ain't fair, sure, but fuck.
Hallelujah. Yes,
It
exactly fucking right.
It
okay?
fucking sucks.
Can we please, as a society, get on the fucking fairness train? Okay? Like everybody says, well, I don't know, like maybe these kids, maybe if they're not, maybe, maybe it's the only way to get a house in Canada. Fuck that. Okay? Like, let's please, Jesus, as a country who has got questions about their justice system, like why are people always stealing 12, you don't get held in overnight until you're on your 5th car stolen, okay? Like if you're caught, I mean, like all this crazy stuff that we see every day.
Yeah.
So like, should we not focus on fairness?
Yeah.
Should we not, if there's a whole bunch of completely honest people who would never use a fake document in their lives, would never fake a down payment, would never fake a gift letter, would never do any of this shit, and they're saying, no, are you crazy? I don't want to be involved in this. And yet they have the harder time getting a house. Should not we just say, no, fuck off? Fuck off white collar criminals. Fuck off people who want to cheat. The country, it's un-Canadian, for fuck's sakes. This is a country that should be based on, and it's deteriorated, I'll agree, okay? It's not the same way as it was 30 years ago.
It's pretty shitty now.
But let's fight back.
Yeah.
Fuck it. No more mortgage fraud. CRA linkage, God willing, on the way. They promised it. I'm going to follow up on it.
Fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed. But fuck it. It's a fairness issue. We want this country to be fucking fair. The fairer, the better. It's the Canadian way.
It starts with us.
Thanks, folks. See you next week.
See ya.
If you like the pod, well, don't just sit there. Go to YouTube, Apple, Spotify, and all the other ones and like the pod. And don't forget to subscribe so we can keep being angry at mortgages and swearing about mortgages. Angry Mortgage could use your support.